Hey, Pastor Dan here from Dexter Gospel Church. Great to have you watching this Proverbs Practical. Our previous video spoke of the heartbreak of a person who never learned to follow the commands to honor father and mother. This next verse speaks of the discernment we need in determining which voices to listen to over the long run. We're in Proverbs 19, verse 27. Proverbs 19:27 says, "Cease, my son, to hear the instruction that causeth to err from the words of knowledge." Now, there are many places in Proverbs where we need discernment to know how to apply something. The two greatest, perhaps, are speaking and listening. We obviously need discernment to know when to speak and what to say. But discernment is also needed for listening. We're told repeatedly that wise people are good listeners. They receive rebuke and correction gladly. They want what they think they know to be confronted so that it can be corrected with what is true. If we aren't willing to listen to people who tell us we are wrong, we'll never become more right. But there are some places where we're already right, where we already have truth or have the right decisions or right philosophy or right mindset. We already have the truth there and we're applying it correctly. And there are voices that would also try to turn us away from that, replacing the truth we do already have with lies, correcting a course that is already straight. And this urges us to stop listening to those instructions. Now, fortunately, we have an absolute standard of right and wrong, an arbiter of truth. So once we understand the teaching, we can compare it to Scripture and determine if it's consistent with what God says, or if it leads away from what God says. If what someone is teaching is in conflict with God, it's wrong. And once we know that, we don't really need to keep delving into it. In fact, if we do keep listening to it, keep letting it permeate us and affect us, keep following its advice, we're kind of asking to be led away from the truth. So we need discernment. We need the humility to acknowledge that we don't know it all and we aren't right about everything. But we also need the courage and the determination to live by what we do know is right. So we have to listen far enough to know where someone's coming from, where their instruction is going. But once we know that something is false, that we can understand why it's false and how it's false, we grasp it well enough that we can refute it, there's no reason to keep inundating ourselves with it. A lie repeated often enough often begins to sound like the truth. This is one reason to be careful in our entertainments. It's one thing to be aware of and familiar with the major thoughts running through our modern culture. It's one thing to sift through things, looking for things that are good, just, lovely, of good report, having virtue, or being worthy of praise. But it is dangerous to mindlessly absorb constant messages about life and meaning and morality and priorities. Sometimes we need to just say enough, no more, to the voices that speak lies to us once we know they are lying. Otherwise, they begin to affect us and they turn us away from things that we really know are true. Now, this, of course, doesn't mean we listen to nothing and no one. It means that we consciously choose who we listen to. It means we constantly make decisions about the voices that affirm truth and set us on a right path. We have to evaluate each, not by our preferences, what we want to hear or what it feels good to hear, not by our opinions, by our comfort levels, but rather by Scripture. I hope this video is a help to you. If so, give it a like and subscribe to our channel for more content like it. We'd love to hear from you in the comments or see you in person at Dexter Gospel Church. Until next time, I hope you stay well and listen wisely.